Okay guys, let's go through this test review together. So let's start with number 1. It says graph the line of the equation y plus 4 equals -3/5 times the quantity of x minus 3. So what we studied, a form that we studied is called point slope form, because inside this equation there is a point and there is the slope of the line. So if you take a look at your Algebra 1 reference materials, this is something given to you during the state test. You can also use it during any test you take with us from now on. This is the point slope formula. Okay, you also have something called standard form we'll learn later. We have slope intercept form, which we know. And then here's the slope formula, which you learned last year and we also reviewed this year. So you don't have to memorize any of these. You can refer to them and just make sure you know how to use them. So if you take a look at this, there is the slope right here. And inside this equation there is an x value and a y value. The only tricky thing about it is that there's a minus in front of each. So when you pull that number out, or if you plug in an x value, you need to remember to make the sign the opposite of whatever you have. So because if I have a 3 here, it shows -3, but the minus is part of the formula. It's actually not the x value 3. Okay, so let's take a look at the problem here, and actually it happens to be -3. Okay, this minus was in the formula. Doesn't mean my x value is -3. It means the x value is 3. I plugged it into the formula and it's showing the -3. Okay, so I have an x value of 3. I have a y value. Now see how there's a plus sign here, but we just saw in the formula it's a minus. So this, again, we make the sign opposite. To sum it up, whenever you pull out the number, make the sign the opposite of what you have. That is a +3 when I pull it out. That's a -4. So this is a good point to graph to start my line. That's 3 to the right, 4 down. All right. Now my slope is my rise over run pattern. I'm going to rise actually downwards, down 3 because of the negative sign, and I'm going to run right 5, starting from here. Okay, so I go 3 up, 5 to the right. That's a good line. I could graph it. Now I could continue my pattern going opposite direction, 3 down, 5 to the left, and I could graph my line. You make sure it's a straight line when you connect it, and you're good. Okay. I'll show you on another problem how you can actually type this right in the calculator and graph it that way. Let's rewrite this equation in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to rewrite it first of all the way they gave it to me. That's a 3, kind of hard to see. Okay, so what I do is, to go into slope-intercept form, I just solve for y. Here's my wall, here's my left side, my right side. Y's over here. He's not by himself, all right? So we need to get him by himself, but more than that, we need to get this stuff simplified. So I'm going to distribute, and remember, distribution is always multiplying. So this is -3/5 x, and this is -3/5 times a -3, gives me +9/5. If you don't follow that easily, do that in the calculator. Okay? Nothing changed here. Let's do -4 on both sides because we're using opposite math to get this over here. All right? So 9/5 -4 is a good thing just to type in the calculator, right? So let's go ahead and put in control divide, and I get my fraction boxes, right? So 9/5, and then get my blinker to the right of it, -4. You have -11/5. Okay, so my final slope-intercept form is y equals negative 3/5 x minus 11 over 5. Number 2, same type of problem. Let's do a different approach though. Let's say you have trouble doing that. We still have to do it to some degree, but I'm going to show you how to type that in the calculator. But first, let's just practice pulling out our numbers. We have a point and we have a slope. Slope is easy. It's that negative 1/2 sitting right here. Negative 1/2. My point, my x value is here. My y value is here. But when I pull it out, I make it opposite of what it shows. So it's negative 4 and it's positive 2. So I'm going to graph that line, 4 to the left, 2 up. And from there, my rise over run is down 1 because of the negative, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. Down 1, 2 to the right. And I continue the pattern as far as I can or as far as I care to. And that's a good line. You could go the other direction too. I'm going to grab a straight edge. Okay. So you could go the other direction too. Just a little quick sketch is really all that we really need. All right. So again, we want to turn it into slope-intercept form. So I'm going to rewrite it again. I'm still going to do the math, but this time I'm going to show you how to check your work to make sure it's right. And if you're doing a multiple choice question, you could check your work even if you're not able to finish the math. Okay, if there's a very difficult problem for you. So let's distribute here again. Here's my wall. Negative half times x is negative half x. Negative half times 4, it's basically half of 4, right? Well, that would be 2. And since it's a negative times a positive, it's negative 2. All right? Again, you can do those in the calculator whenever you need to. This guy moves using opposite math. Right now he's subtracting. Opposite is add. I line them up with a like term. And these are going to cancel out completely, actually, right? So we have y equals negative 1/2 x. Okay, now let's graph it, because I want to show you how you can compare the original equation with your answer and make sure it's right. So here's my function screen where it's like f of x equals. We know that as y equals. And this is now set up with y equals. So I'm going to type in, I don't type in y equals again when I'm in this screen because this is the y equals. Negative 1 over 2 x. Push enter. There's my line. All right, it looks just like what I graphed, so that's a good sign. Now I'm going to show you how to put another equation in. Hit the tab key, and now we're going to type in the original equation. Okay, but notice this does not have y by itself. When I hit delete, I have a menu of options besides an equal sign. I want you to go down to option 6, relation. Now you can just type in the equation however it is. We have y minus 2. Equal sign is over here below control. Okay? And then control divide, negative 1 over 2. And then I have to put some parentheses, x plus 4. Now before you hit enter, you want to make sure it's right, that you didn't make a mistake or miss a sign or a negative or something. Now if it's really the correct answer, you get the exact same line. You saw it just kind of pop up right there again, right? Right where the original line is. That means these equations are mathematically identical. That means you have the exact right answer. And that means on a multiple choice test, let's say you can't get all of your answer or you're really unsure about it. Well, it's multiple choice. Put in the problem in the equation in the problem, type in your answer choices, the ones that match, like this did, that one that matches will be the answer. All right? Let's go to the next one. Okay. Graph the line of the equation y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity of x plus 1. Okay, I'm not going to spend the time to go through both of these. I will get you started, all right? I want you to practice. You need to practice in class graphing this in the calculator. You have to, okay? You also need to practice pulling out the point and the slope. Remember, the slope is just right there looking at you. Use your reference chart. The point is going to be opposite signs from what you see. Once you have the point, plot the point, and then use the slope to be your rise over run. Do that for number 3 and number 4. All right, let's go to the back. Number 5, the table represents some points on the graph of a linear function. Write an equation in point-slope form that represents the same relationship. Well, let's say you're taking the test and you don't even remember what point-slope form is. Take a look over here. And sometimes there will be a question that just says which is the correct equation in point-slope form, and they may have standard form for one of the choices. Just by comparing to this, you know this would not be the answer. Point-slope form is this one, the one we've been using here. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. So I'm going to copy that down. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity of x minus x1. Okay? So what do we need for point-slope form? We need a point, and we need the slope. Point-slope. The slope's easy. It's going to be determined by finding my change in y over change in x. A point, well, we have 3 options of points. We have 2, 29, we have 7, 94, and we have 10, 133. Those are points. They're just in a table, but they're still points, okay? So we can pick any point we want. But let's find the slope. So let's just go ahead and grab the calculator. Go to the calculate screen. And I'm going to see what's going on here. We have 33, and above it we have 94. Let's see how y changed. Y changed by 39 right here. Okay, 39. Then we did 94 minus 29. Ooh, y changed by 65. That's a little strange, right? So since I have some work already there, I'm going to move it up here. So my first y change was the 39. The one above it was 65. Okay, let's do my x changes. 10 minus 7 is 3. 7 minus 2 is 5, right? So the change in y is this one divided by the change in x. And then even though they're different numbers, if I divide and get the same number, it's actually still linear. It's a ratio. The ratio is the same. So 65 divided by 5 gives me 13. So this is telling me my slope is 13. Let's try the other one. 39 divided by 3 is also 13, okay? So even though the numbers don't look like they gel together, they really do. The slope is 13, right here. All right? So I could do any point. I like to pick the point that has the smaller numbers, you know, that's just my habit, all right? Make it easier for myself. So I'm going to write this, and I'm going to plug in the y value from the smaller point, 29. Remember, this minus is from the equation. The slope, I just found it, it's 13. And then x minus, and I'm going to plug in the x value that went with that 29. So there it is, x minus 2. That is a correct equation. Now I want to point this out. If I used any of these other points, it would still be the same line. I could graph this and then graph it with other points plugged in instead. It would be the same line in the calculator. All right, let's do number 6. We have the table represents some points on the graph of a linear function. You know what? This is the same thing. So this is a good one for you guys to do on your own. write an equation in point-slope form that represents the same relationship. If you're at home, you don't have your formula chart, here it is again. Number 7, write the equation of a line written in point-slope form. Again, that's this one. With a slope of -3/5 and passes through point 2, 1. So now it's kind of the opposite of the last two. This time they give me the ingredients. I have to stir them together and get my equation, all right? So my -3/5 goes right here, right? My x value of 2 goes right here. The minus is in the equation, that's why it's there, right? And then my y minus y1 is going to be y minus 1. There you go. That is a correct equation using the point and the slope they gave me. All right, let's go to number 8 is the one you're going to do on your own. Okay, it's the same as number 7. Number 9, write an equation written in slope-intercept form that is equivalent to y plus 3 equals 2 times the quantity of x minus 1. Let's do this one together real quick. We're going to distribute the 2. Okay, we have 2x minus 2. Over here we have y plus 3. And I need to get the 3 over to the side, so y will be by itself. So I'll do that in a minute. The opposite of adding 3 is subtracting 3. Since the -3 doesn't have an x, I'm not going to put it right here below that. I'm going to put it right here. So now I'm going to write, I still want to confuse you, y equals 2x, and let's combine these terms. A -2 and a -3 gives me -5.
Calculators?
Okay, and that is your slope-intercept form. This one I want you to do on your own. Write an equation. It's the same thing. You're going to distribute here. And then you're going to bring this plus 3 over by doing -3 minus 3. Okay, try that on your own. Number 11, what is the equation in slope-intercept form for the line that passes through the point -2, 4 and has a slope of 3? Okay, so they want slope-intercept form, okay? Difference here. Slope-intercept form is our y equals mx plus b. So keep that in mind. They're not asking for point slope again. They're giving us the initial ingredients for point slope, but they want us to end up getting y equals mx plus b. So we basically have to do a couple of different things. I'm going to start off with my formula. Okay, I have my slope here. I have my x value is -2, so when I plug it in I get minus a -2. Those two minuses in a row make it a +2 or a +2. Here in the front I have y minus, and I plug in my 4. Okay, distribute, oh see, this is my point slope form. Now I distribute, I get 3x plus 6. And then y minus 4, I just write again, that looks like a y minus y. This is a 4, number 4, okay. All right, so I need to do plus 4. That's going to give me 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I have y equals 3x plus 10. And I want you to practice. You can type this in the calculator, type this in the calculator, your point slope version, make sure they match. That way you can catch if you made a mistake or not. Okay? You will do this one on your own. It's the same as number 11. And I will do 13 on the next video.